So, once more, welcome to this webinar. And actually, it's not a single webinar, but it's gonna be like a 3 webinars series where we are focusing in this supply chain sustainability topic. And today we will start with the first part, supplier compliance, in relation with ESG reporting. And we will first give you a short introduction on this topic and on our supply chain sustainability concept. And then we will dive more in this supplier compliance in practical use cases, in terms of practical use cases. And then my colleague will actually give you also that kind of like a real life demo, how you can actually handle those things in Jakamo. Okay, but let's start with that kind of like a discussion, why it's important, why the supply chain sustainability is becoming so important. There's actually quite many drivers currently in world, quite many things happening regarding this topic. First of all, it's a lot of like politics, legislation and regulation related things. For example, at European Union, this CSRD, which took in charge 1st this year. Also, a lot of global commitments, for example, like science-based targets initiatives, which many of the companies have committed. Also, there is price nowadays for impacts and emissions regarding sustainability. For example, many banks and investment companies, they have set up very ambitious targets regarding their loan and investment portfolios carbon footprint. So it's going to be difficult to get money if you are doing nothing with these things. Also, consumers' values are changing. People are valuing more and more sustainability related topics. And also in manufacturing industry, there's all the time higher pressure from the end customers, which is then impacting on all of the supply chain. All the links, all the suppliers in this supply chain. Also, one important thing is that you don't need to do and collect this. You don't need to do these things and collect this information, for example, manually. But there are more and more options in digital world to collect the data and develop these things together with suppliers. For example, Jakamo platform. Then a couple of words why it's important to focus on this supply chain. There's that kind of like a US research, for example, a couple of years back, that supply chain emissions are actually 11.4 times higher than operational internal emissions. So it means that over 90% of the sustainability impacts, greenhouse gas emissions and so on, are coming from the supply chain. So it's super important then to focus on that. And if we dive more in details to that and take a look on that kind of like a typical product value chain, there's the scope 3 upstream, meaning the things that you are buying for your manufacturing, like for example, materials, components, subsystems, and so on. Then there's scope 1 and 2, your internal impacts and emissions. And then scope 3 downstream, meaning when the product is ready and you are delivering and customer is using it, and then you are like it's having the end of life and recycling and so on. And actually in manufacturing industry, it's typically from 60 to 90% of the greenhouse gas emissions and also other sustainability impacts, for example, like social impacts, which are coming from the purchases. So it's super important that customers and suppliers are working together with that part of the impacts to first of all to track the data there, but also to develop these things together. So basically, if you are doing all things perfectly in your own factory, it's maybe just like a 10 or 20% of the total impacts. So that's why it's so important to focus on supply chain. And if we are going more in practical side of this topic, we at Jakamo, we have developed that kind of like a holistic model for supply chain sustainability. This is based on tens or hundreds of discussions with different manufacturing companies, both customers and suppliers. And in our model, this supply chain sustainability includes 3 different themes that companies need to consider. It's kind of like a management model. So first of all, there's this supplier compliance that we are focusing today. It means that you need to know your supplier base. You need to know that your suppliers are fulfilling the requirements that you are setting. That the legislation and regulations or your end customers are setting to you, you need to be able to communicate those requirements to your suppliers and being able to be sure that they are fulfilling it. So that's, let's say, the base of this supply chain sustainability. Then the second part that we actually focusing in our next webinar in April is this operative sustainability. It means that when you are receiving materials, components, subsystems, and so on from your suppliers, you need to track the greenhouse gas emissions and other sustainability impacts of those actual items. You need to be able to collect the data of those. And then third element here that we will talk more about in May in our third webinar is this sustainability innovation. It means that, let's say that the supplier compliance and operative sustainability, they are, or they will be at least in the near future, mandatory. You need to handle those things efficiently to being able to be valid in the market and not becoming obsolete as a company with your offering. But this sustainability innovation, it's something that maybe when you have put those 2 things in good shape, you know that your suppliers are fulfilling your requirements, and you can track the emissions and other impacts of your items that you are buying. Then you can focus more on this sustainability innovation and think about together how you can redesign your products, processes, ways of workings with your suppliers, and so on, to make it some kind of a competitive advantages to you and to the whole supply chain. So that's the model. And if we take even a more practical approach on that, we have developed that kind of practical digital Jakamo related use cases for supply chain sustainability in relation of this very well-known ESG framework of sustainability. So we are having these 3 topics here, and then we are having these environmental, social, and governance things in other axes. And for example, if we think about the supplier compliance, it's quite many examples here, what kind of information you can, for example, collect and process with your suppliers regarding your supplier base. But what is important here is that each of the company, they need to think about what are the most important topics in their business, because of course it's related to the question what you are producing, it's in which market you are, what kind of things you are buying, if it's more materials or if it's more components, if it's electronics or mechanics and so on. So you need to identify to which of those use cases you need to focus in the beginning, and then start applying at least those. If you take some examples, for example, from this environmental side, one very typical use case is to follow up that your suppliers are complying and they are applying your environmental aspects related instructions and guidelines. One important thing here. Another one can be, for example, that you can track your suppliers' greenhouse gas policies, biodiversity loss policies, energy consumption policies, water footprint policies, and whatever of that kind of things. And ask also the suppliers to provide their reduction plan for those. On social side, there can be, for example, possibility to track the diversity, equality, and inclusion of your suppliers, or, for example, systematically collect those conflict minerals reporting templates from the suppliers. And in governance side, some examples can be, for example, that you can have all of the code of conduct approval information in one place, so you can whenever see that all of your suppliers they have approved and they are applying your code of conduct. Or for example, third-party certificates, like for example ISO 14000 environmental certificates and so on. But to conclude, you need to think about what is the most impactful in your business and then pick up the relevant cases and just start applying them. Yeah, so maybe I will hand over to Matti, my colleague, and he will show what this means in practice.
Thank you, Timo. My name is Matti Mäkelä. I'm a Chief Product Officer in Jakamo, and I will be presenting you a little more practical view on managing this compliance in Jakamo master data. First, I would like to say a few words about master data in general, how it differs to any other content in Jakamo. If we think about purchasing or claims or audits or engineering changes in Jakamo, they are usually done between two parties, and both the customer and supplier see basically a symmetric view on the topic. And master data is a little bit different. It's a data storage or database for your supplier information. It is possible to ask certain things from the suppliers and ask them to provide documents, but still it's a little bit different to all the other applications in Jakamo. It's a customer-centric place for supplier data. And my goal is to show it in the product, and let's see how it goes. So this is Jakamo, and here on the left there is a master data module, and here you can see a list of all of your suppliers. Some of the suppliers may be in Jakamo already. They may receive purchase orders from you, and you can import all the suppliers here, not just the ones that are in Jakamo, but there can be all suppliers, and we can help you to import this supplier data to Jakamo master data. Up here you can see filters, and any element in Jakamo master data can be used as a filter. For example, I can easily see which suppliers have NDA signed or have a certain status or so on. And if I open one supplier in master data, all that we see here is related to this one supplier. And there's a sort of a questionnaire form for that supplier, and it has three main sections. There are internal data, which is something that only you can edit and you can see. And then there is relational data. That means that these things are something that you would like to show to the supplier, but you are in charge of updating that information. And then there is relational data where you can ask anything from the supplier. It can be something about their production capabilities or locations or addresses or even certificates and so on. Let's create. So basically this structure is completely dynamic. So you can decide what kind of questions would you like to have here in master data. And inspired from Timo's presentation, I would now like to create a few questions to the master data, and let's see how it's done. In master data, there is template feature, which is used to build this master data structure and questionnaire. And you can see all of these 3 different sections here, and there are questions under these sections. And I would now like to create questions for supplier onboarding. And let's create a header that is called onboarding checklist. And I want it to be internal for now. I will save it, and it appears in the screen on the bottom, and I can simply drag it. I will put it right below the strategy. I will add a new field, and I will call it sustainability audit. And I want it to be a checkbox list. And I want to be able to use it in the search filters that we saw in the main page. And I want to show it in the list view also, in the table that was in the first page. It should be internal also. And I have 3 options on the checklists. And I want to make sure that supplier sustainability evaluation is done. I want to be sure that they have provided the evidence and we have reviewed the data. And this is not maybe so sustainability related, but just an example. I want to make sure that politically exposed persons have been checked and approved by the management. So now I have a checklist question in the master data, and again, I will drag it to the correct place below the onboarding checklists. I will add a couple of more fields, one for the sustainability evaluation date. I want it to be a date field. It's also internal. I will drag it to the right place, like that. And I want to make sure that auditor who is responsible of this audit is also available here, and I will create a user reference field for that, like this. That's in the wrong place. Okay. Now I have few new questions in the master data template, and this is something internal. I made it internal fields, but if I would like supplier to provide some documents, so let's add one more field for the, I will call it greenhouse emissions plan, and we need a document for that. So I will add dynamic document field, and I will say that it's relational data and supplier is able to provide that document for us. And if we now look at the umbrella corporation in Jakamo master data, like this, we should see an onboarding checklist ready to be filled for this supplier. And I can now edit that. My fields are in funny order now. I need to check the template. Sorry. There it is. sustainability audit. I will drag it to the right place like that. Let's try again. Umbrella corporation. And now there is onboarding checklist ready to be filled. So I have made sure that the sustainability audit evaluation has been done. They have provided proper evidence for us, and the persons have been checked, and the evaluation was done today. And I can say that Timo Rossi is in charge of the audit like that. And after that, we have proper fields for doing a small onboarding checklist for the supplier, and Timo is in charge of that. And if we think about the last field that we filled, it's right here. And this means when it's shared with the supplier, is that I'm able to add the document here, but the supplier is also able to add the document, and it will be available for you through Jakamo master data. One thing I would like to say about API and BI reporting, first of all, you are able to embed any BI reports to Jakamo master data. If you are classifying or evaluating suppliers and you have the data in your BI systems, you are able to embed the BI documents right to the supplier profile in Jakamo master data. And all of these fields that we created just a few minutes ago are available on the master data API, which can be used to bring this information to BI systems or any other systems that you are using in your IT landscape. We are also able to connect to external document management systems such as M-Files or Opto, meaning that if you store your documents in external systems, we're able to show the documents from that system inside Jakamo master data, or provide new documents from Jakamo master data to your document management systems. And that's it for the user interface. And we will take the questions next with Timo. And if you would like to discuss more, we're more than happy to help you and find a perfect solution for you. Next, let's take the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matti. So we are ready for any questions. Or if you prefer to ask later directly from us, you can just like a mail to me or Matti. We can discuss more.
Jarl, but here there's one question.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have a question. Can we insert, for example, official conflict minerals reporting template into Jakamo so that the supplier should use that for reporting? So correct me, Matti, if I'm not right, but yes, you can create that kind of like a document, and like a standard document can be conflict error reporting or any other reporting template that you want suppliers to use in standard way, and then you can request them to fill it in. Do you have something to add, Matti?
No, that's good answer.
Yes, and then there's a question: are presentation materials going to be shared? So it's gonna be recorded, and all of you are participating. You will get the recording of this webinar. So in that way, yes. Anything more? Yes, there's something coming. When the next webinars going to be? So next one, which is focusing on this operative sustainability, it's gonna be 24th of April. And the last one, which is diving in this sustainability innovation collaboration with suppliers, it's gonna be on May. But next one is 24th of April. Question: who is going to create the fields to fill out? Is it up to the customer who is asking for that, or should the supplier do it by themselves? Do you want to answer that, Matti?
Yes, customer is responsible on creating the master data structure. The customer defines what kind of things they want to use for categorizing the suppliers or collecting any other data, also sustainability related data. So the template does come from the customer.
Let's wait if something more is coming up. Okay, so maybe no more questions at this point. And as said, please contact me or Matti if you wanna discuss this topic more. And thank you everyone for joining this webinar, and I hope to see you all. Okay, there's a question coming. Do you help with the master data content creation?
Yes, absolutely. That's something we do with our customers every time we roll out the master data questionnaire. You don't need to be able to edit it or create it, but it's possible, and it doesn't require any software changes. That was the point of the presentation, that you're able to create the content yourself or add new stuff on the questionnaire whenever you need to do that.
Sorry, I was too fast. Anything more? Okay, maybe now it's no more questions. So thank you all for joining us and hope to see you 24th of April with this topic of operative sustainability. Yeah, and you, as said, you will get this recording afterwards. So thank you and have a great day, all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.